All right, we'll call to order our Safety and Public Works Committee meeting, September 28th, September 18th, 2023 at 7 p.m. in council chambers. We have 7 items tonight. First item on the agenda is our event street closure application for the BHS Homecoming Parade. Mr. Dean, Public Works Director, if you want to take this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So attached is the application from the high school to bring back the homecoming parade. They are planning to have the event on Friday. Apologies on the typo in the agenda item. It is Friday, September 29th, from 5 to 5:30 in the evening. They would like to close South 5th, Laurel, East River Road, beginning at 4:45, and then progress the parade from the upper parking lots to the lower parking lot by the field. Staff is recommending approval under the conditions. They coordinate with police staff for their staffing support needs, provide a certificate of insurance to City Hall prior to the event, and request traffic control materials 1 week prior.
You said the only typo is that Saturday was on there?
I typed up both Friday and Saturday right next to each other, so it is Friday.
But it is 5 to 5:30?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Any questions?
So, as far as motion, we just agree to make a recommendation and just forget the motions?
I think you can make all the motions, and I think I can second it if we're only 2 in here today.
That's always wondered. Yeah, I'll move that we approve it.
All right, I will second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Second item, another event street closure application for the St. Francis Marathon. And Mr. Dean, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So attached is the application from St. Francis for their annual marathon to take place on Wednesday, October 18th from 8:30 to 12:30. They're requesting to close the block, including the streets on North 9th, North 10th, Juniper, and Kingwood Streets from 8 until 1 is when they would like to have the closure up. Signs and banners are going to be up in the event area, and the event organizer is also planning to distribute flyers to the neighbors 1 week prior to the event. Staff's recommending approval under the conditions that they notify the adjacent residents and businesses with those flyers, remove the signs and banners after the event, provide a certificate of insurance to City Hall prior to the event, and request traffic control materials 1 week prior to the event.
All right, thank you.
I did find out that they will notify them, according to what Jesse found, was a week in advance of that, so I like that, instead of just like a day or so before, so I'll move to approve it.
All right. Motion to approve, and I will second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 3 is another event alley closure application for the Zion Lutheran Trunk or Treat. And Mr. Dean, again, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So attached is the application for Zion Lutheran's annual trunk retreat or event. They are planning to hold the event on Tuesday on Halloween from 3:30 to 6:30 in the church parking lot. They're requesting to close the platted alley between the church and the parking lot to allow for walking access between the building and the parking lot safely without traffic. Staff recommends approval of the application under the conditions. They provide a certificate of insurance to City Hall prior to and request traffic control materials 1 week prior.
Thank you.
Remind me of the address again there? Is it on there?
Zion Lutheran
Yeah.
doesn't have the address on here. Maybe it does on the application.
I didn't,
Corner of Kingwood and 8th, North 8th.
okay, thanks.
It would be on the southeast corner.
220 North 8th is their address.
Thank you. I'll move to approve it, Mr. Chair.
I will second. A motion and a second. Any other questions? Any discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Item number 4 is another event street closure application for the Spooktacular. And Mr. Dean, go ahead on this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Last event application for the night. This one for Spooktacular taking place on downtown on Saturday, October 28th from 10 to 4. This will be different than in years past. First, they are requesting a closure of Laurel from 6th to 8th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. For a children's parade starting in the Bremer Bank lot and progressing from 8th Street to the Laurel Street parking lot. The streets would then reopen and the event would continue with trick-or-treating until 1 p.m. and a photo scavenger hunt until 4 p.m. If the urn planters are still kind of spaced out downtown. They'd like to use them for the scavenger hunt. If they've been stacked up for the winter season, they would like to just place hay bales as needed. They're also requesting closure of the parking stalls on 8th Street next to Yasher Kombucha for a beverage truck, and also for police staff to assist with pedestrian crossing assistance across 8th Street. Staff is recommending approval under the conditions that you request traffic control material 1 week prior, provide a certificate of insurance to City Hall prior to the event, and coordinate with police staff for staffing needs.
Thank you.
Is the Laurel Street parking lot this one, or is it down there next to Sage?
Sage.
Okay. What's this one called? City Hall parking lot, right?
I think that's
Correct.
what we usually call this one.
Yeah, okay. I'll move to approve.
All right, motion to approve. I will second. Any more discussion? I have none. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Item number 5 is a discussion on a stop sign removal request for North 3rd Street and Juniper Street. Mr. Dean, if you want to unwrap this one.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So staff did receive a request from a resident to remove the stop signs in the north-south direction of North 3rd Street at the Juniper intersection. Attached to the item is a memo summarizing the approach staff took to review this request and some of the criteria that the MUTCD states as factors to go kind of in the opposite direction, going from a two-way to a four-way stop. In review, the intersection doesn't appear to meet the warrants for a four-way stop. However, staff made some assumptions on traffic volumes, which could be collected if we did need to. The stop signs were requested to be installed originally in 2009. Staff researched that request in the discussion, as well as included those notes from the council meetings in the packet. So staff has included 3 potential options. You could leave the intersection as is, remove the stop signs as requested, or direct staff to collect additional traffic volume information and just return to a future council meeting. At this time, staff is looking for direction on the council on how to handle the request to remove these stop signs.
Thank you, Mr. Dean. Go ahead, Jeff.
What's the residents' reason for wanting to remove it? I don't believe I read that.
They're having concerns about the noise of vehicles stopping and starting, accelerating pretty loud. A lot of it's vehicle noise related.
Yeah, I'm looking for that. There was an email sent to Council President Bevins, and he actually forwarded it. I don't know if he forwarded it to me and you or just me, but eventually got to Mr. Dean, and this is where we're at right now. Have we heard anything else from any other residents around that area? Yes or no, whether they like to keep it or get rid of it?
No, sir.
Because before we did or do get rid of it, I think we should have a public hearing on it, just to make sure we hear if people do want to keep it. I think the point is, when we put the stop sign in 2009 or 2010, there really wasn't the data supporting putting a stop sign there, but they fought for it. Some of the residents around there, somebody who lived on that corner at the time, doesn't live there anymore, was kind of the one leading the way. Some of the employees at Essentia as well signed on. But at this point now we have a request to remove it due to the sound. And they're requesting just the north-south, not the east-west.
So if for 13 years we've had a four-way stop there, isn't it likely that people going north and south aren't stopping, that the people going east and west will assume they're supposed to and take off when the cars are not going to stop and cross in front of them?
It's a possibility. That's somewhat what the studies have shown when you put in the unwarranted stop signs, is you have a challenge with compliance at stop signs and people tend to roll through them. But we don't have any records of citations. I did ask PD to review crash history as well as any speeding citations or any type of citations on that area. And so far, they said that they haven't had anything in the last 5 years.
It has been a safe intersection since the stop sign's been there, and that's the main important part. But it was also safe before the north-south stop signs were there.
I have a hard time changing it, even though I understand the rationale, other than, well, not necessarily. I mean, noise. It's stop and go. It must obviously bothers the neighbor or maybe some neighbors. It didn't. We didn't get a complaint apparently from the people who asked to have it put in there that now we want it out because of the noise. I don't know, I really struggle with this one, because I can see that happening where people have been driving there for a long time, and east-west traffic, they're going to assume the cars are gonna stop going north or south.
Yep.
And when they don't have a stop sign, I just see more potential for more accidents when so far there isn't any problem.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought by now we would hear from more residents than just one on the corner. It is directly affecting them when they're outside with the noise levels of engines, so I understand their complaint. But if we're gonna choose one of the three here, I don't wanna have staff get any more information. I don't think it's worth spending time doing traffic counts and things like that. We already know that it's a safe intersection, no crash histories, no ticketing that we're aware of.
I'd move to take, well, I'm not gonna move to take no action, I'm just not gonna make a motion. That's, what's the point of, no change, that's all I'm
Right.
interested in, so.
Yeah, if in the future we hear from more residents in that area about
Yeah,
the stop sign being a problem, we can always do something, but I think for now, that might be the best move, just to take no action.
I don't wanna upset President Bevins by making a motion to do nothing.
Well, he can make a motion too. Here he is right now. We were just talking about the Third Street stop sign. If you have any input, or you wanna wait, because we're taking no action.
Stop sign, we're,
Okay. All right, well, let's move on to number 6. And number 6 is the discussion on the 24 through 33 capital improvement plan draft. Mr. Dean, if you want to walk us through any changes?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So staff has revised the capital improvement plan based on the comments that we received at the last council meeting this was presented. We did receive several comments that are listed in the agenda request. I made revisions accordingly. Some revisions include reduction of the scope of annual reconstruction to try and limit the annual costs of the sanitary and storm funds. We also revised the plan to show more closely reflecting the projects that were in the previous 5-year plan with some revisions. For example, the South Brainerd reconstruction project remains the same as it was in the previous plan with just an updated estimate. However, the beach reconstruction was a resurfacing project in the previous version. In review of this, there are water main, sanitary, and storm replacement needs, as well as opportunities to improve street grades for drainage. So that was why that was adjusted into a reconstruction. Other changes are new projects that weren't shown in the previous plan, like the Laurel Street Bridge Repair Project in 2024 and the 6th and Willow Roundabout in 2025. For the Laurel Bridge, we had a continued failure of one of the bridge joints leading to a washout under the east end of the bridge. This does need to be repaired before the washout continues closer to the bridge abutment. The roundabout project, as we know, did receive grant funding and is scoped for construction in 2025, which we didn't know until this last spring. We are bringing the plan back to council to see if we have better captured the wishes of the council in the plan. If there are more comments, we can make revisions as necessary. Otherwise, our plan would be to bring a final version to council for approval.
Thank you. Looking through this, I like this. I think it's improved. Next year, I think next year is essentially the same as what you had on there in the last version that we saw, correct?
Like I mentioned, like the Laurel Bridge is new.
Okay.
The gully got moved since the delays with that project, so that's in there now. That I don't think that was in the previous 2024.
Oh, sure.
Evergreen and Bluff is a new resurfacing, but knowing the deteriorating conditions of Evergreen, we felt like it needed to be resurfaced here in the short term.
Okay.
Evergreen is the hill, basically?
Correct, going down
First
towards the park and the landing and the cemetery.
Okay.
Okay. Are you comfortable with this one, Jeff?
I mean, it's a lot of stuff.
It is.
So I can't sit here and nitpick, and we hire professionals. I guess I would not see anything wrong. It's really out of bounds. So
Right.
I'm good with moving forward with.
I think we keep the budget in mind in this side, but that's really what we'll probably hear more from on the other side when we get to full council from PNF. Is this within what we want to do for our budget? I'm comfortable with the list of projects that we have here. I'm also aware that, I think most of us are aware that this might change next year when we get a lot more data that we're looking for, both from BPUs age of pipes map that we can hopefully get, and our street scan that's gonna happen next year. We might revisit this whole thing next year. Who knows?
Have we approved the street scan?
Not officially, but I will,
Okay.
depending on cost.
Well,
We'll
okay.
see.
I've heard you say that before, so I gotta ask you.
Sure.
So, yeah, we're looking at just approving what he presented, is that,
Well, this is,
It's not a-
nothing's
not been
being
approved,
approved
right,
tonight. We're
right.
just directing,
so,
if we need any changes to this, to come back with a official adoption of this 10-year plan. And I'm comfortable moving forward with it as it is right now.
okay, we don't need a motion then,
I think it's just staff direction. Yeah, I think we're okay.
okay.
We'll let PNF comment on it if they want to. Mr. President, anything to add?
Not at all.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Enough direction there, Mr. Dean?
Thank you.
All right. Number 7, and our final item tonight is just direction on active code enforcement cases. Mr. Dean, if you want to tell us about these? Oh, sorry, Mr. Kramer.
Thank you, Mr.
Force of
Chair.
habit.
So, staff is bringing 2 properties before SBW tonight. The first property is 1424 A Street South. This property has received $100, $200, $300 citation, has not responded to staff. Number of issues within the property, couches, furniture, stuff that's falling apart, tires, garbage. So with that, staff is recommending obtaining a search warrant and abating the junk and debris on the property. Second property is 15284 Beaver Dam Road. So this one's had a bit of a history. Staff did include kind of multiple documents with it. About a year ago, we did take a look at the property. They were renting without a rental license, among some other issues with it. That did end up seizing during that time. And did not go down the route of pursuing legal action. However, staff did discover recently that they were advertising again on Craigslist as a short-term rental, for sale house, kind of what they could get for the property. Since then, that has been taken down. So staff saw it. We sent a $100 citation, $200 citation. It has been taken down, but we have not received any contact from them. So with that, we may have some discussion on this one. Potential recommendation could be staff recommend issuing a $300 citation every month and directing the city attorney to pursue legal action if staff sees an advertisement for a rental property again online.
So only if,
Only if we do see them advertising on one of the short-term rental sites or Craigslist or newspaper, then at that point, we'd issue a $300 citation and then pursue legal action with the city attorney.
okay. So am I hearing you right? There's no other violations right now other than,
No other violations, it's just
Okay.
yep.
And they've been notified that you will continue observing and citing them?
We can send a letter out, making them aware that, we have sent that they need a rental license, and they haven't contacted us. If they are in violation, the letter does state that citations continue. We could send another letter just letting you know what the action was here tonight, and I think that'd be certainly something that would be good to do.
I would agree.
right? My question is, how do we know, say he found a long-term, or they found a long-term renter? Would we just wait for a complaint on that? There's really nothing the city can
It's
do.
it's a very difficult property to see into because it's a large property. There's trees that are in front of it. So they'd have to be a long-term renter that they're found that wasn't found by advertising, because at this time we don't believe that there's any advertisements out there.
Okay. All right.
I would move to approve the recommendation by staff on these 3 properties.
Just 2.
Beaver Dam, they,
1428 South 8th and 15284 Beaver Dam.
I apologize, I thought we had 3. I'm reading more than we had.
Yep.
We have a list of things that we're working on. Okay, those 2 then.
Okay.
Okay.
I will second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, go to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And we will adjourn.